The following is the views of MC and Jester. If you don't like our views, don't listen to our podcast.
Welcome to Me Podcast. You listen with Jester and MC.
Me Podcast, you listen. This is Jester, and I'm here with MC.
No, I believe this is, if I'm not mistaken, our 13th episode here, Jester.
I don't even know anymore. We're just mumbling and bumbling, trying to get people to listen. So if you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or you follow us on Twitter, or you follow us on YouTube now, Me Podcast, you listen on YouTube, or you can go to SoundCloud, definitely on iTunes. You got to subscribe. We have, like I was saying to MC before, we have like 80 downloads, but we don't have anybody really subscribing. So when you go on there and you download us, be good to hit subscribe so you can make sure you catch up with the current episodes we have that we constantly put out, because we talk about everything here. We talk about movies, talk about wrestling, of course. And now this episode, we're going to talk about fantasy football, because we're both in a fantasy football league.
Yeah, so this is kind of like the aftermath. It's the playoff time entering, and we don't have to want to do like a Jerry Lewis telethon episode where we just tell you nonstop to subscribe and donate. GoFundMe.
Yeah, we already got like people calling us from MGM and people calling us from Sirius XM and saying, well, they want us on there, but they don't feel confident because no one really subscribes. So if you subscribe, then we could be on the radio.
Otherwise we'll have to do what's the other one? A Patreon? Do like a Patreon page or whatever.
I don't even know what that is.
That's where people donate to keep us alive.
Oh, we'll get tokens.
Tokens, yeah.
We'll be like a cam girl or something, like a strip girl on a kind of video saying, what do you want us to do next? Do you want us to talk about the upcoming WWE pay-per-view? Give us a few tokens and we'll talk about it.
We've gotten some feedback. We want to say, which is positive from you guys, and we appreciate you listening. We had some, and just something we might try to make a staple of the more subscribers or listeners, hopefully, or downloads we get. Is drop us some feedback and stuff. We had some people ask us, just to kind of piggyback after our last episode, is just saying, where do you go from here? This was off our Creed episode. Like, where do you think the Creed franchise could go? So, I mean, I'll pose this. Me and Jester spoke about this before, but not on air. Where do you think, just to kind of do a little follow-up blog to our last episode, where do you think they can go storyline-wise with the Creed movie?
Me? Where do I think it could go?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
From one of our
he had a daughter. So I think we're going into the whole world of women boxing or women UFC fighting if they're going to go into a future. Creed, he's definitely he's going to fight the Russian, which is Rocky IV. And so the only thing I can see happening now is he becomes a trainer like Rocky V. And then he adopts some person.
Do you think he does a rematch? Do you think he does a rematch with Pretty Ricky Conlon? Like
well,
the first one, because it didn't beat him.
That's what you think is going to happen. I'm not too sure that people follow the Rocky franchise, that this Creed franchise, like they do Rocky, to want to see that. Yeah. I think they like the storyline of bringing back the history of the Creed and talking about Creed and his family and the history of Creed's kid and coming to be a fighter and that whole. There is no tomorrow, man.
I think that line has to be in one of the Creed movies before it's finished. There is no tomorrow.
As Creed wakes up in the morning, he's like, "It's tomorrow," and he's like, "No, it isn't. It's today.
There is no tomorrow.
There is no tomorrow."
Maybe when you said if he really ends up one day training somebody and they continue this type of franchise and Michael B. Jordan plays his dad trying to train a fellow fighter, maybe he trains Victor Drago, maybe in a twist of a thing. Drago needs a trainer and he's retired, and he trains him yelling at him, "There is no tomorrow."
Our Creed is bipolar and he hears this in his head all the time, and then he just like randomly punches people in the street. because he's like, I gotta fight every minute of the day, and he's just running around punching people.
Yeah, here's something we never discussed. Like, what happened to Clubber Lang? What about Clubber Lang's kid?
Well, Mr. T actually took on the realm of taking on everybody's kids, and if you haven't seen those commercials and TV Saturday morning cartoon shows he took everybody's kid on. So Mr. T became a superhero, and he didn't have time for boxing anymore. And then he started doing nutrition commercials, and he started doing like motivational speaking. So it would be cool if Mr. T came back and became Creed's trainer. And then Rocky found out about it, like on the backside, and was like, what the hell? And then Mr. T and Rocky had to fight in like a senior citizens fight. And that was the final. That was a movie where Rocky and Mr. T fight to see who's going to train Creed for his other matches. And
I think T would have been a better choice charismatic wise than Lil Duke. I mean, whoever they got, no offense to him, it's also how he was written. He wasn't written to be a prominent player, but yeah, could you imagine Clubber Lang?
He's not very good. He's not very good in that movie. I think his best.
He didn't really do anything. He didn't really add anything. Even in the desert, he's just nodding his head most of the time. He's like he's just a character that's cool because he's a legacy character, but he doesn't really do anything. So I mean, if you're going to add a character in there, I mean, throwing Clubber Lang in there, training somebody against, I don't know if that's what the movie franchise would become, but Clubber Lang trains a kid, and now he faces, Clubber Lang's son, or he faces...
Everybody has a son. I think it would be Clubber Lang's daughter. Clubber Lang's daughter, or it's a daughter who identifies as a boy, since we're in that era now. So, yeah. And she shows up, and she's got like
she-male?
She's got
Clubber
a reverse...
Lang she-male against Creed?
She's got a reverse mohawk. She's just got like it's shaved like straight to the front of her head, and it's like the sides are hanging low, and she's just looking like
Cyborg.
Yeah, looking like Gallagher, just coming in and just just wanting to box. And she's just doesn't say a word the whole movie. She just shows up and
she does the Clubber Lang mannerisms like.
Yeah. Your prediction for this flight, and her name's not Clubber. Her name's like Rebecca. Rebecca? What is your prediction of this fight? And she's like, pain. And so that was like, whoa, that was like totally Clubber Lang right there. Everybody would probably, honestly, if you put any of those characters in it, anybody that shows up from the old Rocky movies that's still alive, I really think that. Pain. Dude, that part of the movie, that made me want to... I tell you, here's the one thing about Rocky movies, since we got into this at the beginning of this show, is the one thing about Rocky movies is it always makes me want to be a boxer. Afterwards, I want to go fight. I just want to go in the parking lot and just fight with someone. That movie seriously just pushes up my testosterone to where I feel like I just got to go in and just go and brawl everybody.
Did you ever ask her brother? Maybe that's why, that made him chop the heads off all your dolls on the tree with the machete. Because he just watched a Rocky film.
He didn't chop the heads off the doll, man. He sliced up my G.I. Joe characters. Okay, it's not a doll; it was an action figure, you bastard. And then he also burned them with paint and a lighter. So then my Star Wars dolls, he did that. He melted all my Star Wars dolls. Your brother's
not in jail.
Well, again, we were kids when that happened, so when those things happened when we were younger, I guess that at
the
some
action
point,
figure police comes over, like brings her brother in, like, come on now, we're gonna have to take you away.
You go to your parents and you say, "Hey, this happened," and then your mom and dad say, "Well, what's your fault for leaving him out?" But basically, that was the answer to everything. So they didn't want to deal with it.
Hit him in a chest with a lock.
Yeah.
Don't you dare play with your toys because your brother's going to destroy them.
You should have never had this laying around. That's what my parents would have said. You should have never had these laying around where your brother.
All your fault.
Yeah.
Jester.
So
your fault, Jester, little Jester, for bringing your toys in front of your brother. They were asking for it.
let's lay them out in front of you, the carnage, and see all these action figures with their arms and legs disemboweled and everything just chopped up, and you look at it and you cry, and you give me a good cry, you son of a bitch, because this is your fault for letting this happen.
It's like blaming a girl for having too short of a skirt and then getting assaulted. Like,
yeah.
Asking for it.
Well, you also got to remember,
he left his toys laying around the floor. He was asking for them.
He was asking for those. He was asking for that. Well, again, you got to remember, I was raised in the '80s, so the answer to everything was a good old beating. So you basically didn't go to your parents for anything unless there was just a reason you had to. Because if you went to your mom and dad for anything, it ended up with you getting smacked and nothing coming out of it, nothing good. So you had to remember that.
Why are you disturbing us?
What's that?
It's like, why are you disturbing us with this?
Yeah, it was pretty much that way.
We've given you toys, a room, and food, and a roof over your head.
Don't bother me with this dumb shit of your problems. I got my own problems. You see this mortgage? Do you see how much I got to pay for you to eat? You know what you need to do is stop eating.
We don't care about a few of your toys being decapitated by your brother.
No, don't you even bring that up. You bring that up over here, and I'm going to slap you around, son. So that was pretty much my life. This is like a therapy session all of a sudden there, MC. Just all of a sudden it's got me laying on the couch.
Shit sandwich you had to eat as a child, and just all those toys that would be worth a ton of money to you now are just ruined, and nobody seemed to care.
Yeah, well, no, I don't think anybody. I didn't think about it. I didn't sit there and say, man, in the future, this Darth Vader doll who's got the sliding lightsaber through his arm is going to be worth millions. I didn't have that going on. It was just a matter of playing with them and then my brother destroying them. So, because you know what? He was mad. That's the thing. I didn't think he was really angry. If you asked him, he's probably angry he didn't get a Star Wars figure. And
probably
so when
jealousy. Jealousy rears its head most of the time, and what do you call the reason why the crime was committed, the intention was there, trying to think the right word I'm trying to use.
The motive.
The motive for the crime was, yes, jealousy.
It could have been. If you really asked him, he's probably like, you know what? I wanted a Castle Grayskull, and Mom and Dad got you one, so I'm going to take your Castle Grayskull out there and I'm going to put an M80 in it, and I'm going to blow it to shit. And then you're not going to be able to stop me because you're little and I'm big, and it's fun. And then so we just had to turn around and deal with that. So that's probably true. That's probably exactly how it played out. So now that I think about it, I don't know if I can do the rest of this episode regarding fantasy football because I'm a little upset now.
I'll take us home here.
You got to the dark side of my life, and now I just might have to start drinking beer or something right now in the afternoon just to get you through the day.
We were going to start on a happy note, which would have turned sour and angry with fantasy football, but instead we went into the fan questions of Creed, which took us down a dark path of
fantasy football. Another destroying my life kind of bullshit of life. I agree to sign up as a football coach and a former football player. I never thought I'd ever play fantasy football, but then I started playing it, and now I'm in 2 leagues, and I realized that this fantasy football program is something that I would like to blow up with an M80 because nothing's more frustrating than to watch football on TV and trying to not only watch the game and enjoy it, but trying to make sure that my team that I drafted is going to do their part. And man, this has got to be the most frustrating thing that men have come up with and has created to make your life a living hell of trying to manage a make-believe football team and then hoping they don't get injured or hurt during the actual game day.
And this let's be honest with you, and I don't know how much we delved. It's many episodes again where we first kind of delved on this. When this was first in its infant stages or just kind of on the fringe looking in, a lot of these crazy bastards would tweet the players, and please don't do that. That's just ridiculous. Yelling at them and mad at their, whatever they did that week that didn't help them win. This has become embraced by the NFL in a sense where the announcers will bring it up, or the red zone will bring it up, or whatever it is, because they know this is bringing ratings to their games. You're watching games that you normally wouldn't watch or